Welcome to Coffee Couch Ideas podcast, where it's all about discovering your true self. So grab a cup of coffee, relax, and enjoy your episodes with me. I'm your host, Kritika Arcot. Let's begin the journey of making those small little changes in life. All of us have only 24 hours in a day. Then, how is it that some of them are capable to do more tasks efficiently in less time and achieve success? Well, along with the goal set, they also have a system in place to do things that help them in the process. So today's episode is all about productivity hacks. I'm going to talk about different methods that have already been formulated and popularized by productivity and time management experts. Later, I'm going to discuss about other tips. So let's get started. Eat a live frog the first thing in the morning, and nothing worse will happen to you the rest of the day. A famous quote by Mark Twain, which stresses on working on the most difficult task first. Once you complete the most difficult task, which consumes time and effort, the rest of them can be completed easily, and that reduces your tension. Before beginning our day, it is a must to prioritize on our tasks. So, tip number one is prioritizing. There are actually different techniques that can be followed to be productive, and I will share a few methods here. This method is called the Eisenhower Matrix. This method got its name from Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was an American Army general and was also one of the former US president, which made him to take important and difficult decisions every day that led him to create this Eisenhower matrix, which focused on completing tasks based on priority. This was popularized by late Stephen Covey, the author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And this book is still one of the best selling ones. This matrix allows the tasks to be categorized into 4 different quadrants according to the priorities based on their importance and urgency. I'm going to talk about each quadrant briefly. The first quadrant is for important and urgent tasks, which have to be addressed first and completed without any delay. In the second quadrant, the tasks that are important and not urgent fall in place. For example, this year I have planned to lead a healthy life, which means I have to follow certain things that are vital that help me in the process. This is going to take some time and cannot be achieved overnight as it's a continuous process. So I cannot delay this saying it's time consuming and that I will take care of it later. So tasks in this quadrant will seem to be not urgent, but they are important in the long run. So as soon as you finish the important and urgent tasks, you need to pay attention to this quadrant as well. The third quadrant is for not important and urgent tasks. These tasks are ones which add little value to you, so you can delegate these tasks to others. Quadrant 4 is not important and not urgent tasks. That means the tasks here would be of no significance to you, which you can totally ignore. So, the whole method involves a process of identifying your task and prioritizing into 4 different quadrants and thereafter working efficiently. The next method is what Warren Buffett used to help his employees identify their priorities in life. Once Warren Buffett advised his personal pilot to follow 3-step method to identify the important goals in life that waited for attention. In the first step, Warren advises to identify the top 25 goals that one would want to establish and write it down in the order of priority. Step 2 would be to highlight the top 5 goals out of the 25. Step 3, then one has to eliminate the remaining goals as they contribute to distraction in achieving the top 5 important goals. This tip, if followed, will give amazing results. The next method that I'm going to talk about is called Pomodoro Technique. This is something really interesting, and millions of people have benefited through this technique. By this method, one can achieve goals without getting stressed out as you can optimize time. This was developed by Francisco Cirillo in the late 1980s. He was an Italian university student who was struggling to finish his thesis. So he took his mom's kitchen timer that was in the shape of a tomato, and in Italian, a tomato is called a pomodoro. He twisted the timer and set it to 25 minutes and focused all his attention on his important task of completing the thesis without getting distracted. If at all he was distracted, even to fetch a glass of water during that time, he would again set the timer back to 25 minutes, and eventually he found that this method helped him a lot. By following this method, he was able to finish his thesis on time and was able to complete any given task. According to this method, once you finish one Pomodoro, you can take a short break and get back to another Pomodoro for 25 minutes. So, after completing four Pomodoros or Pomodori for plural, you can take a long break, which could be from 15 to 30 minutes long. He was able to achieve his goals without getting stressed out, and time was no more his enemy. Well, when I tried this method initially, completing one Pomodoro without any distractions was challenging. However, now I'm used to working on more Pomodoros with a small twist. Myself and my younger daughter, we set the timer on the phone and work on three Pomodoros at least. During this time, I get my work done and my daughter works on any of her hobbies. If at all we get distracted for less than a minute, we don't reset the timer again, but we continue to work on our task. This works for us. So, why don't you try any of these methods? Well, there are several techniques that could be followed. However, you need to find out which one method suits you and which one yields the best optimum result. And now, following are the other productivity hacks that I would like to talk upon. So, the next hack is planning for the next day. Always plan the night before, and this will help in being clear about the things that you want to do on the next day. Be specific about what you want to achieve and don't do things which are not in your plan. Keep it simple. People who have been successful had their goals and tasks written down first, and they had put their effort and time in it every day. So put your pen to paper to know about your ideas, thoughts, then tasks and goals, whatever it is. Just write it down. The next one is sleep well. Try going to bed early and have a specific time every day. And everyone knows that avoiding gadgets before you sleep is good. If you get late to bed, then you will have trouble waking up early. And if you have inadequate sleep, you will feel tired and irritated, and concentrating on work becomes difficult. The next one is having a routine. It's important to follow a good routine. Initially, it's difficult to set up one, but once you are used to it, there is no stopping. Find when is the peak hour of productivity for you, as it might vary from person to person. Once you identify, stick to that schedule and you can get your work done easily. Usually, get most of your work done in the mornings as your mind is fresh and energized. For me, early mornings and evenings work well. Then the next step is being organized. Declutter your things at the desk and your files digitally. You would have noticed that if you have a clear desk, you have a peaceful mind to work, and psychologically, it creates a positive feeling that you are organized. This tip might sound small, yet the most important to begin with, and has a great effect on productivity. The last one that I'm going to talk about is avoiding distractions. At work, we might be distracted by so many things like emails, physical mails, phone calls, meetings, and of course, chatting with coworkers during office hours. Well, have a scheduled time to check your emails. And if your primary job involves answering and working on the information received through emails, then find what are the other distractions and try avoiding them. Do not attend unimportant phone calls and delegate some of your work if it doesn't need your attention. Well, talking about distractions, we have to admit that social media engagement has been emerging as a great concern for all ages. Things have changed since the last decade, and more people are joining the internet worldwide. According to Global Web Index, a survey has been conducted on social media engagement, and it states that an average person spends almost 2 hours and 24 minutes in a day in the year 2020 on different social media platforms and messaging apps. Well, in that case, I was just thinking how much time would one spend in a year on the whole? That means out of the 12 months, approximately 1 month and 1 week is spent on these platforms, and the remaining time we eat, sleep, and work. Every year, this engagement time has been slowly increasing. And interestingly, according to the survey, it is also observed that 7 out of 10 of the 16 to 24-year-olds engage in social media while watching TV. Well, on the whole, consider the amount of time that's been used on these platforms, and no one could judge better than you. So think before you use, and using the technology wisely is a boon. So when you're all set to work or study, turn off all the notifications in your digital screens so that you have undivided attention to work on the most important task. These seem to be small distractions. However, these are the ones that are time consuming and most of the time is spent here. So, on the whole, being productive is not difficult if you know how to manage the task and manage time efficiently. Treat time as your best friend. I want to end this episode by reciting a beautiful poem called Victory, written by Herbert Kaufman. Sometimes, when I get demotivated, I read it loudly, and here it is. You are the one who used to boast that you would achieve the uttermost someday. You merely wish to show, to demonstrate how much you know, and prove the distance you can go. Another year we've just passed through. What new ideas came to you? How many big things did you do? Time left 12 fresh months in your care. How many of them did you share with opportunity and dare? Again, were you so often missed? We do not find you on the list of makers good. Explain the fact. Ah, no, it was not the chance you lacked. As usual, you failed to act. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you've not listened to my previous ones, do listen to them. Happy listening and discover your true self.